Are we rolling? Recording? All right, let's get into this. I want to talk about the changes I've seen since I've got back to Western Washington as far as, the whole van life, habitat extinction. And I understand the reasons for this. It's just kind of sad because I grew up when I was a teenager. My buddies, dad, we'd go out, we'd earn some money which way, recycling cans or moving hay bales, firewood, whatever. And we get dollar a gallon gas back then, back in the mid 90s. We go out, go party at the lake, and then go out there and kind of explore the logging roads. I had it's kind of cool. And then as I turned, one of my other friends, the moment he got a car, he's like, "We got to go camping here, or fishing, or do what." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever. Let's roll," And so I remember all these places that I used to have campfires, and we were responsible about what we did. We weren't doing dumb jackass stuff. Lord knows how many times we'd see some idiot doing something, and it's just like, this is going to be a problem someday. And that someday has come to pass. I used to go and see a lot of friends, see those mountains over there. I was on a mountain that was even higher than those the other day. Drove my van up there, steep. Going back down, had to take my time, first gear, let the brakes cool occasionally, just pull over before it becomes an issue. And I just think about it, that I looked at all the blocked off logging roads. A lot of them blocked off for a while. And I thought to myself, this used to be a place that you could go and just be. You could be there. You could spend a weekend or a week or a month. Some of the places, nobody would care if you were there. All the Forest Service would say different. Part of the reason they blocked off a lot of the roads was people would do stupid stuff, catch the forest on fire, dump garbage, meth labs. That's always their omnipresent excuse. But the garbage one, I'm really fucking sick of hearing that one. I don't know if you can see that picture I put for the thumbnail for this, but it's literally a burned out RV on the side of the logging road. No, a lot of the reason they got rid of a lot of the roads is for the reasons I've just described, but a lot of it makes it to where it's easier for them to patrol it. That's it. That was it. It's cheaper. The less area that they have to patrol, the less manpower they have to have for it. In an era where we got satellites watching everything, ironically. And it's also a sign of a failing state, especially when you look at the DNR or the BLM, depending on what state you're in, where their attitude is like, well, we don't want to have to waste manpower going out there to keep an eye on this stuff. There's drug addicts and meth labs. Well, let me explain part of the reason that things got to the way they were. There's always been people camping out in the woods. Back in the day when all this was originally logged, nobody would have cared. If you had some extra gas and you're out there just minding your own, the attitude was like, okay, that's their thing. Maybe they're just a hermit or something. Maybe they want that inner peace. They don't want to deal with society. And this kind of went on for a long time. It was somewhere in the 90s. The Bill Clinton wanted to rewild a lot of the wildlands. And it was also good for the government because they would need less manpower to run the same machine. In their eyes, the timber was the valuable thing, not your access to the wildlands. They made the wildlands something where we have these campgrounds. We have these day use picnic spots. That's where you can go. Yeah, well, are those campgrounds free? Now, if you buy a $35 Discovery Pass, some of them are free after you pay $35 for the entire year. But for the most part, you go to a lot of campgrounds, and we're talking, $15, $20 a night for just a tent spot. No utilities. I'm sorry, that's a ripoff. You got to drive all the way out here, and then you're surrounded by other people. Everywhere around you, there's somebody around you. There is no quiet, tranquil peace to that. It's literally just, you're in kind of a enclosure playground for people in the woods. And hey, there's a river or a lake or something. Now that's not, okay, I get it. Some people like that. But when I get out to the middle of nowhere, I want to be able to like walk outside because there's nobody around in my fucking underwear if I want to. I want to be able to take a bath with a bucket or a stream, and I just be left alone. And they're like, "What do you mean take a bath? Just I'm gonna wash myself, I'm gonna clean myself, and there's not gonna be a fucking issue." Because the only reason most issues exist is because of other people. That's one thing I loved about the wasteland. I never saw a goddamn person there. I'd go out there with enough water, then I'd walk down to the Virgin River, which is a very muddy river. And on some of the good days, I'd go and fill up my water jugs, and I'd use that for, after the water would settle, I'd use it for bathing and whatnot. It was great. Fucking loved it. No problems, no issues. Weed was legal in that state. And alcohol was really affordable. I look at these situations out here and I see the problem. The problem was also, a lot of it was an economical issue. Forget the timber for a second. Why were there so many bums suddenly out in the forest? They weren't van lifers. They weren't outlanders like myself. When I say outlander, I mean I'd rather be out in the land. I own a house. I could live in my house any goddamn time I want. I have no interest in living in my fucking house. I've been there, done that. It's boring. I like living in a van. I like living in a truck. I like being somewhere for a while, and then I want to go check out some other area and just kind of cruise along, see some things. You know, maybe I spend a couple weeks in an area, maybe a little longer, maybe more, maybe less. Maybe if it's a wintering spot, be like winter habitat. And just give me a second here. Got to stretch the leg. Oh, that's better. Oh, just kind of crimped up in a position there. But yeah, you go out there, and a lot of the people that are causing the most problems are these fucking bums. And it's a subsidized problem, too. You give these people like a crazy check, you know, and then because these are people that don't get Section 8. That's what happens. They don't get Section 8, or they do get Section 8, and they got their crazy check and their little apartment and whatnot. I got a buddy who faked crazy, took acid, thought he was God. Crown jewel of faking crazy, by the way. And effectively what they do is they just end up kind of, you know, if they don't get a place to live, they just get like an RV or a tent. I'm going to tell you, if you're a person living in a tent, you got the government giving you food stamps, $1,000 a month. You can get a free bus pass, cell phone. You know, you can figure out some way to make a little electricity. You're living pretty fucking good if you're in a tent. Especially if you $1,000, you're kind of a smoker stony. If you're just a regular stoner that drinks a little, you're living in hog heaven. You could literally just hop on the bus. All these places that I can't go to anymore because of all the homeless people that have, you know, burned out old RVs, garbage left everywhere. And then, you know, the state just closing it down. And it comes back to it's an economic problem. I'm not kidding when I say that. It's literally like, well, there weren't enough jobs for these people. The rent's gone up vastly. The inflation rate, the boomers, they do not want more housing made. They don't. Because their housing is literally their retirement plan. So they don't want that to change. They want the prices to stay as high as possible for as long until they take boomers. Can you please just take that slide down, the fun slide down? It goes down really fast, and then fucking hopefully it drops your ass in a fucking coffin. And not all boomers, but just a lot of you are just trash. Fucking had the best era to ever exist. You took what was like a wonderful legacy, and you just basically said, nope. You can't enjoy that. You can't have anything. You can't be out in the woods. You can't enjoy anything. And mind you, how many of those were those old smoker stonies? And then you got the, you know, the drug-addled kids. So if you were going to go out there and you could live in an RV on some old clear cut, and then you just got a little car to get into town or a little, like, you know, pickup or something, yeah, you'd be doing fine. But sooner or later, what always ends up happening is these people have some sort of issue with the law, the rangers, somebody. They leave garbage, even if they don't get caught. They leave garbage. There's fucking poop everywhere. They don't know how to make a cat hole. They don't know how to dig a hole and, you know, take crap all in one place and then cover it up when they're done. Because they don't give a shit, you know? They leave a mess. Drugs, problems. The reason they're out there, they're not out there because they're like, man, I want to live in the woods. No, if they could afford an apartment in town, most of the fucking bums you see out there living in the woods, tents or RVs, they would not be out here. And I am telling you the God's honest truth about it. I am actually an outlander. I would rather be on the land than living in my house. I have absolutely no interest in living in my house. They would rather be in a house than be out on the land. And so what you'll run into with some of these drug-addled assholes is, like it'll be some bitch and she's going through her clothes. I don't wear this anymore. And they just throw it out. They just throw it out right there. You'll see like kids' toys, family stuff, blah, 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 whatever, just thrown out. And the sad part is like, I know a lot of people will be against this, but if you had a campfire, how much of that stuff would just go up in flames easily? I'm not talking about the plastics, and then the rest of it, the leftover stuff, you're going by a gas station or a recycle bin. You could literally just drop it while you're in town. No, but that takes 2 seconds of effort. That takes 2 seconds of effort and just throwing the stuff in the bushes because I'm never going to be here again. Not my problem. And then inevitably people get sick of that. But one thing I want to point out is much like that trashed RV on the side of the road and that video I did of, that trailer that literally it was burned out that had trees starting to grow up through it, like a maple tree. That doesn't happen overnight. I mean, the alders grow pretty fast, but that maple takes a little bit of time. That's been there for years. And the state and the federal government prevents you, private citizens, from setting up groups to clean up the roads, to fill in the potholes. No, that's the government's job. Oh, you're doing a great job of it. That trailer's been there long enough to have trees growing through it. You understand that, maybe that when the trees start growing through the burned out RV, it obviously shows that, no, you're not about it. Because I can tell you, in less than a day, a group could show up there with cutting torches, cut up the old thing, throw in the back of a pickup, and then they could scrape up the garbage and it'd be cleaned up in a fucking day. But we, the people, could solve these problems. We, the people, could clear the sides of the roads. People who love an area, like adopt a highway, adopt a logging road. There's a gravel pit on yonder, you just kind of roll along and occasionally you find a pothole, you just shovel out some gravel. Hell, that'd be a great thing before anybody could get one dime from the government. I'm poor, help feed me. I'm poor. I too stupid because retarded. That shit. Before you can get one dime, hey, well, you're not so retarded that you can't sit there and play video games all day. Hey, you're gonna help shovel some gravel into these potholes on these old logging roads. You're gonna help clear this out. We're gonna give you a kind of a, you're gonna do some work before you can even apply for any benefits. And watch how quickly a lot of people would be off benefit. What do you mean I gotta do something? We the people could solve all this shit. But it's just gotten to the point where I look at a lot of the places that I used to camp and they're all blocked off. They're fewer and fewer. Good pull-offs that used to be good places to camp. Yeah, I'll admit it. There was garbage back there. Usually people from town's garbage. Meth heads that were stealing fucking copper from somewhere and they dumped their wire strippings, the plastic, in the middle of nowhere along with their garbage. I'm never going to be here again. Probably on the system, living on Section 8 or some subsidized trailer park bullshit. I look at a lot of the habitat that I used to enjoy and I love slowly whittled away. And it just strikes me that it makes it kind of hard to care. I mean, and it's taking the people off the land. That's what gets on my nerves about it. Like, when people talk about there was a wildfire and people used to really care. Now it's like, well, whatever. I don't have a job in logging. You don't even allow me to camp out there. Am I supposed to be like up in arms about this? Whatever. It's nature doing nature. Just saying, I kind of wonder if this is how a lot of the First Nations people felt as the world changed around them. Where they're looking around thinking, yeah, once upon a time, this was my home, but it ain't that home no more. Anyhow, like and subscribe, take it easy.